Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L. Hope you're having a great day. Today I'm bringing you a Fire Force video, this time specifically a detail appreciation video, man. Where I'm going to point out some small details about PrincessHibana from Fire Force, which will really make you appreciate the character. Or at least, give you an insight as to why I appreciate the character. What I want you to take away from this video are the subtle things that the author did to justify why Hibana could have such an easy redemption. And also to point out that the difficulty was not that high for Shinra from the very beginning. Hibana was one of the easiest captains to tackle, and the author gave a lot of reasons as to why that was the case. So, quick recap, or quick introduction depending on if you're watching this for the first time. PrincessHibana is the captain of the 5th squad of the Fire Force soldiers. The 5th is a research-oriented squad, with Hibana leading the charge on flame human research. Character-wise, Hibana's rhetoric is all about how she's become the devil and acquired power by playing dirty and researching things without a shred of ethics. This character that she's developed is reinforced by her past trauma of watching her fellow sisters burn despite them being more devout. And when I say sister, I mean religious sister. The loudest parts of her character are the ones that don't believe that God exists and the ones that push that she is the devil. Well, that and also the way she treats other people. The last one is the detail we're going to focus on because the author did something really neat with the character. So, PrincessHibana is a mess of contradictions. Those contradictions themselves spring out from the conflict in her heart. It's because Hibana had this conflict that Shinra could save her as easily as he did. All he had to do was give her the nudge, or the punch in this case. So I say that, but where do we actually start when it comes to untangling this mess of contradictions? Well, the first thing that I think we should keep in mind is that Hibana was doing her best to convince herself that she was a devil. She tells us as much after the fight is over in her conversation with Obi. You can kinda infer that. The important thing to note here is that this informs us that Hibana knows what it is to be good. She could only call herself the devil because she had a good that she was referencing. Hibana is a character that knows good and evil and consciously pushes herself to be on the evil side after she sees how good is rewarded. Her knowledge of that distinction and the basis for her motivations are proven when she laments that the sisters, who were much holier than her by her estimation, burn. The important thing that you have to note here is that she is basing good off of the sisters. The sisters are the standard by which she models good, and from their example, she knows she is lesser. So then here's where it gets interesting. We know that Hibana has a serious problem with the church. After all, she burns Iris' habit in rage. So how do we reconcile this? This is one of the important contradictions. You look at this and it seems pretty cruel. Her burning the girl and reducing her to being naked. But then Hibana gives Iris her coat to cover her up. For anime viewers, this was important because early on it told you that Hibana cared about Iris from the get-go. And this is in line with her holding the sisters up in her view. Now the next thing I want to show you is something that the animes totally skipped and would have given you a little bit more context to play with. It's a single line. Earlier in the anime you find out that Hibana thinks that everyone is gravel. And you can play the game of like, well that makes sense because her rhetoric is about stepping on people and gravel can be stepped on. And that's what Hibana does. She steps on people. The metaphor works really well here. Anyway, the lines where she is talking about how everyone is gravel is a really interesting line. It informs you on the woman's worldview and it also sets you up for the next contradiction, which is the line that the anime didn't put in. After Hibana burns Iris' habit, in the manga, there were people oogling her, which led to Hibana yelling this: "Don't oogle her, that is the pure, undefiled body of a holy woman." She did not once ever call Iris gravel. The reality is that Hibana doesn't think that absolutely everyone is gravel. That makes sense. It's very hard to speak in absolutes. For her, you can easily see that the sisters are an exception. And in that sense, her character is consistent in her contradictions all throughout. She holds the sisters in high esteem. But then you gotta ask, what is going on with the church thing? She hates the church, but yet she idolizes the product of the church, but then she calls Iris a fool for playing the church-dictated role, but then she gives Iris her coat, because she can't let the little girl be naked there for the whole time. Well, the takeaway is that she cares about the good people in the church. This is the point of her questioning why people nicer or more pious than her got burned. It tells you that there is a distinction. It tells you that she's disillusioned with the establishment, but she knows that there are worthwhile people in it, but can't stand that the good people could still get burned for their efforts while she, the lesser, gets away and is rewarded for, well, negative efforts. The contradictions are strongest in how she interacts with Iris, because Iris is the fundamental good standard that came out of something that she found worthless. A lot of her anger towards Iris is probably just her not wanting Iris, who she finds pure, to be burned or misused by the system that they are in. We can see this from when she warns Iris about getting burned when they left during the flashback. What you ultimately take away from this is that she's angry and mean because she cares. She's angry and mean because she's seen how good people get burned up by the system that was supposed to support them. Ultimately, in Hibana, you have a character who was painfully aware of what good was and how she couldn't reach that standard in her eyes. And after seeing how good was rewarded, she had no choice but to delude herself into being a devil while still idealizing good. This idealization of good, while hating where it comes from, informs her anger. And her knowledge of being spared, despite how lesser she was, informs her doubling down on being a devil. These reasons put together are why she's all over the place with how she treats Iris. Even as a devil, she can't bring herself to seriously hurt Iris, the pure one, or abandon her memories of the pious sisters. What you ultimately get is that if she didn't care about her time with the sisters or the idea of good, that is, if she did not hold good in a high regard, she wouldn't have gone so hard into the devil route. It's ultimately only because she cares that she became this way. It's only because she knew what it was to be a good person that she could go as hard as she did. Like Shinra said, Hibana is a victim. A victim who at her root was hurt by the fact that good people could get tossed aside so easily while she got away. And this is ultimately what made her so easy to redeem. This character already knew what she was. She knew what game she was playing. She still valued good people like Iris. It's easy to save someone who had already resolved to fight evil with evil. And now we can ask, how exactly does Shinra save Hibana? Well, Shinra's role in Hibana's salvation is essentially that he just shows her that she can stop lashing out, that he'll be there to help her when she needs it, and that she can stop pretending to be something that she's not. When you look at how Hibana behaves after the fight, you get a better sense of what exactly ended up getting fixed. Hibana is still largely abrasive and rude, and the anime shows that she still uses people. And while that was an anime original scene from what I could spot, the manga also maintains this characterization later on. This shows you just how pointed the salvation was, and acts as another justification as to why it could be so easy. The less things you have to fix, the easier it's gonna get. Shinra didn't make all-encompassing fixes here. I mean, a punch isn't that great at solving years of trauma and unraveling the worldviews that develop from it. He didn't fix Hibana's looking down on people. He didn't change that worldview, nor did he change her view on the church. What he did was he just helped her become a team player. In other words, she's just willing to rely on people. Current Hibana went from someone that called everyone gravel, who did everything for herself so that she could progress, to someone who calls underlings gravel and changes up her insults for other people, with a special exception for Iris and Shinra, and ultimately became a person who is willing to cooperate with others. So the final word, the reason Hibana was so easy to save was because she was a character who already valued good. She was just lashing out because of how good people were treated. In other words, she was acting because of good people. She was already fighting evil in her own way, and because they weren't saving her from that much. They just had to save her from her antisocial behaviors that she developed due to her trauma. To speak in more anime terms, we really just needed her to believe in the power of friendship, and we convinced her of that through a mighty punch. Anime, right? Violence solves all problems. Anyway, when you look at the rest of Fire Force, the idea that there are good people in a bad system, it resonates. The idea that God is a dick resonates. This conflict that Hibana had, when you look at the bigger scale of Fire Force, it actually served as a pretty good foreshadowing or framework for how the rest of the story was going to unfold thematically. So if you're anime fans, I do hope you keep that in mind and you look forward to the future. Anyway, yeah man, that's the end of the video. Yeah, like Hibana is a cool character, you know, she's a character who had all these contradictions and erratic behaviors, but when you strung them all together, they ultimately made sense with the final conclusion, and that's pretty cool. Good job, author. I really do like the character. Anywhoosers, that's pretty much it for me. That was a fun video. I got nothing else to say. If you liked the video though, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You don't need to subscribe, but a share would be worthwhile. It will tell YouTube that this video is worth it, and that would be nice. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for more bonus content type videos like this, like little topics about the various anime being covered on the channel. I hope you enjoyed, and till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.